beautiful, and welcome to makeup. And welcome back to another edition to watercolor convo makeup, which I still haven't really named properly. When I say watercolor convo makeup, I mean like when you're at work having a cheeky little watercolor moment with your friends and just having a cute old chit chat, but I do my makeup at the same time, but I talk about things that either you want me to talk about, or I want me to talk about, or we all kind of want me to talk about, if that makes sense. Either way, last video I did being manipulating your audience, how to end your career in one easy step, I got a lot of comments asking me for my thoughts on Jenna Marbles. So I decided that I was going to go back, rewatch some of her older stuff, some of her newer stuff, and then rewatch her taking accountability video that has been taken down since, but I watched a re-upload of that. So, let's go. Ooh, I actually kind of like flipped that, so that's kind of fun. If you don't know Jenna Marbles, literally how have you existed in this world? Either way, she is someone who I used to watch religiously. I would binge watch her content over a couple of months, then I'd take a cheeky little break, and then I'd come back and I'd binge watch her content again for a couple of months, and I'd take a break, then I'd come back, and I'd just go round and round and round in that system. So I've watched her content from turtle backpack, turtle pusher, all the way to the taking accountability video. So I've been on and off, but I've also watched, I would say, majority of Jenna Marbles content. I never got to listen to the podcast, but her videos at least, I was definitely a committed watcher. Like if I could commit to any other aspect of my life the same way that I've committed to watching other YouTubers' content, I feel as though I'd be a lot more successful in life. But the last time we saw a video from Jenna was the taking accountability video, and from my recollection, that video shook the internet because I'm pretty sure the way that the timeline lined up is the Carmageddon drama was happening. So Tati came out with her video calling out Jeffree Star and Shane Dawson. So because of that, all of our focus was on Shane, was on Jeffree, and was their downfall, and also the lack of credibility that Tati had after the Bi Sisters video. So because we were also focused on that, any kind of drama that was happening about Jenna kind of went unnoticed. So I didn't even see anything that was calling out Jenna, but I assume that there was, considering the taking accountability video did go up. But either way, because we were also focused on Carmageddon and everything happening with that, no one saw anything from Jenna coming, and then all of a sudden we were taken aback, we were blindsided, and we were just confused as to what was going on because Jenna had no part in Carmageddon. So all of us were like, wait, why is she taking accountability when she's not a part of the big drama? But not only was taking accountability an apology video, it was also essentially a farewell video, because Jenna said in the video that she didn't want to be a part of the channel anymore, she didn't want to be on the internet for a while, or in fact, forever. So as I said before, I went back and rewatched a lot of Jenna's old content as well as her more recent content, and also rewatched a re-upload of the taking accountability video. That way I could really assess and analyze why we as her audience, and why the internet in general, even after 9 months, still feels her absence and still feels a void in the internet because she is no longer here. I think the primary reason why we miss Jenna and why we still feel her absence on the internet is just because we miss her authenticity and we miss her honesty with us, her audience, and also with the internet, and also even within herself. And in my opinion, like many other creators, she managed to create this dynamic by being relatable to her audience. Her content was primarily either trends that she did in her own way that were kind of outside the box, i.e. the highlighter challenge. Everyone else was putting like the makeup highlighter on their face, whereas she decided to actually grab Sharpie highlighters, and everyone was like, oh my gosh, that's so Jenna. She's still doing the trend, but also she's doing it in her own way that we could all relate to and have fun with. But also she only made content that would make her laugh, that would make her smile, that she wanted to make. So she made her content for herself. She made her content for her own fun, her own happy, and she invited us along for the ride, along for the adventures. And this honest kind of content gave us inclusivity of her fun and of her adventures, and because of that, we were able to bond with her, however one-sided that might be. And I say one-sided because Jenna allows us to peek into a certain part of her life. She allows us to peek into the part of her life where she is willing to film, edit, and post the videos. But unfortunately, no matter how hard she tries, the circumstances just don't allow her to do the same for us. Unless we film, we edit, we post videos of ourselves, and she happens to stumble upon them and she happens to watch them, she won't be able to have a glimpse into our life unless we do that, or we comment essentially our life story on her videos and she happens to read that comment. It's one-sided not because there's genuine effort for it to be one-sided, it's one-sided because it's next to impossible for it to be anything but. But even though the circumstances dictate that it is going to be one-sided, somehow Jenna managed to make us feel as if it wasn't one-sided, as if we knew her but she also knew us. Sidebar, because this is a Jenna video, I decided that we had to go for some classic kind of Jenna makeup. So I've got my eye feathers on because really, is it a Jenna video without some eye feathers on? And because your girl's your girl, she has an incredible craft supply with just some random stuff that I don't even remember buying, but apparently I have a lot of rhinestones. I think we all know what makeup look I'm gonna be going for, so this is gonna be horrifying. Some research has actually been put into why people grow so attached to fictional characters, whether they're book or screen characters. The kind of character that when they're happy, we're happy. When they cry, we cry. The kind of ones that we feel genuinely emotionally attached to, even if we do know that they are fictional. Even to the point where some people fill in the gaps of characters' personalities that they feel as though are lacking, which is how you get to something like fan fiction. Fun fact. There's no hard, concrete scientific evidence. At this point, it's all theorized. But it's theorized that it's as simple as empathy and how our brains process empathy. Oh, I just dropped a jammy. We start to bond with a character when parts of their life or parts of their characteristics start to line up with our own. It gives us something to relate to, and therefore it gives us something to empathize with. Because we understand certain aspects of their life because we've been through it too. We understand specific parts of their character because they line up with us too. But the issue with this is the way that our brain processes it is, even though we know that the character themselves is fictional and doesn't exist, the empathy is real and the empathy exists. So because the empathy is real and the empathy exists, our brain can't differentiate between the empathy of a fictitious character and a non-fictitious character. So that's why we feel genuine emotions for characters even though they're not specifically real, which I think is fascinating. As I said, there's no like hard scientific fact, but also like just the theory itself is something that I find quite fascinating, and I am planning on doing a lot more research into it because it's a good read, and your girl, she likes to be educated. She likes to consistently learn. So theoretically, because our brain doesn't know how to differentiate between the fictional characters that we have empathy for and the non-fictional characters that we have empathy for, it creates a parasocial relationship between us and the character. A parasocial relationship, to be put simply, is just a relationship that's one-sided. To us and our brains, theoretically, the character is real, the bond we have with them is real, the empathy we have for them is real. But because they're a fictional character, it can only be one-sided because they literally cannot feel anything for us back because they don't exist. I'm not saying that Jenna isn't real. What I'm saying is, unfortunately, due to the circumstances, unless there is like a miraculous event, it is going to be next to impossible for our relationship with her to be anything but parasocial. But like so many YouTube creators, we are able to relate to them and we are able to bond to them because we're able to empathize with them and we're able to empathize with their situations and with their adventures. We're able to have fun when they have fun. We're able to cry when they cry. There's absolutely nothing wrong with having healthy investment in a creator and in a creator's content. What it means is that you probably just have a lot of empathy, which like, it's not a bad thing. But Jenna's one of those content creators that made it so easy for us to empathize with her, that made it so easy for us to bond with her and create this possible parasocial dynamic with what her content was or is over the last 4-ish years. Experimenting with her own hair, her own nails, Julian's hair, Julian's nails, her makeup, showing us her dog, showing us her plants, showing us parts of her life and parts of what she's willing to experiment with, and essentially things that we would all do. I would definitely dye my hair at home. I would definitely cut my hair at home. I've done that before. I would definitely do my own nails. I've done that before. I love my dog, so I could empathize with that. Plants, I usually kill because I'm not great with looking after them. She took us on adventures and took us on a journey into her life that all of us could relate to. The kind of parasocial relationship I feel as though Jenna developed with her audience either fits into one of two categories, for the majority at least. She either fits into the category of the fun, exciting family member that just makes the family reunions always fun. When it comes to things like holidays and birthdays, you're excited for her to show up because you know that's when the event begins. Or she fits into the kind of fun work colleague category, the kind of work colleague that when you see that you're on shift with them, you know that it's going to be a good shift. The kind of person that when you see them, the day is made, but when they're not there, their absence is definitely felt. And in saying this, I'm pretty sure every person in the world has experienced one of these two things. Either going to a family gathering and your favorite family member just isn't there, and it just doesn't feel as fun, as exciting, as bright, as energetic, just as good as it typically does because that person isn't there. Or one of your favorite work colleagues quits and they no longer work with you anymore, and you go into work and you're like, you know what, work kind of just sucks a bit now because they're not here. I feel as though those two experiences are ones that people just globally share. And because of that, we're not only able to empathize with Jenna and empathize with her content, but also we're able to empathize with her absence. I, for one, know that I definitely have. I, for one, think that I've caused that quite a lot as well. Sorry that everyone I used to work with. I hope it doesn't suck without me there. On to Jenna's last video, the taking accountability video. As I said before, the video has since been taken down, but I did manage to find a re-upload and I did manage to rewatch it from the re-upload. Jenna has made some bad choices in the past when it comes to her content, and some of those bad choices aren't mine to forgive because I wasn't the party being insulted by the content. I'm not a part of the parties that were at the expense of the joke. So this isn't me saying forgive the content, don't forgive the content. This is simply an analysis of my perspective of the taking accountability video of Jenna's previous content. And yes, I do understand and I do acknowledge that this perspective is biased because I do love Jenna's content and I do really enjoy Jenna, and I have for so many years. At its core, the taking accountability video is an apology video, but where I feel as though this apology video differs from other people's is Jenna isn't hiding any of her past. In fact, she's actually bringing it forward and showing you what is being called out, and she's showing you what bad choices she has made in the past. Yes, she has privated all of the offensive content that she has put up in the past, and it no longer exists on the internet, or at least it no longer exists on her channel anymore. But in the taking accountability video, she knew what content she was being called out for. She knew what past actions she was being called out for, and instead of us having to go back and sift through her past content, she was just like, yep, I'm being called out for blackface. Here's the example of the blackface that I did. It wasn't like one of these apologies where it's just like, hi guys, I'm being called out for being racist recently and I'm so sorry. So when she was apologizing for all these things, it did feel genuine, and it did feel like she was genuinely taking accountability because it did feel honest, and it felt like she was actually acknowledging her past and actually acknowledging its impact, which is unfortunately a lot more than some creators do, because some creators do just like to sit in front of the camera and be like, hey guys, I'm so sorry for my past behavior. I'm sure that you've heard what's going on. And what if we haven't heard what's going on? We're just kind of sitting there being like, wait, what's the tea? What's the drama? Please explain. Why are you making a sorry video, but not really saying what it is that you're sorry for? You're just sorry, but why? Like, an apology video shouldn't be a guessing game, but so many people have made it a guessing game. It was really refreshing to see. I think that was the first video I've ever seen of an apology where it genuinely looked as if someone was trying to make amends rather than like cover their own ass. But on top of that, not only did she address the things that she was being called out for, but she literally said in the video, how about we just add this to my tab, and then also inserted things that she felt as though she should be called out for as well. So she called herself out without any kind of prompting. She called out her content that previously made fun of people's genders, and she also called out her own content that was very slut-shamey. From what I could find, people were only calling her out for the racism. People weren't calling her out for the gender content, and people weren't calling her out for the slut shaming. But also, with so many other creators, they only seem to apologize for the things that are being requested that they apologize for, rather than the things that they should be apologizing for, if that makes sense. So that's why some people sometimes will have to make 3 different kinds of apology videos in the space of 2 weeks, because they'll apologize for one thing and then think that with just one apology video everything will be fine and everything will be like swept under the rug. And then with more digging, people are just like, oh, not only did you do that thing that you just apologized for, but also you did this thing and you should also apologize for that. So then all of a sudden in the space of a few weeks we have like 4 different kind of apology videos just because they only apologized for what was being requested of them rather than like what they should have done. If that thought process even makes sense. It was also refreshing to hear why she took down the offensive content. Like, I understand that she wanted to take it down because it was offensive content, but also it was just a little bit more than that. She specified in the video that the content stayed up for a while because she didn't want to hide her past. She didn't want to hide her past bad choices because she wanted to show people how she's grown since then, which is fine. I think it's okay to keep past content in a way of growth. I've kept some of my past videos. My channel originally started as like a singing channel, and then we moved to peel off, and now apparently I'm doing commentary videos. I want to show my growth and development in the way of like production value, but also I want to show the growth and development that I have myself being on camera and like presenting myself on camera and all that kind of stuff. So I can understand how a person would want to show their growth as like a video resume kind of situation. So I do genuinely understand where she's coming from when she says that she wanted to keep those videos up so that 1, she wasn't hiding her past, but 2, she wanted to show her growth and development as a creator and as a human being. But in the taking accountability video, she does acknowledge the fact that even though those videos stayed up for what could have been seen as justified intentions and kind intentions, at the end of the day, those videos were still up, those videos were still at other people's expense, and those videos were still offensive, offensive and causing people harm. And at the end of the day, she doesn't want to harm anyone, so she's taken those videos down to stop the offensive content and to also stop hurting people. And I genuinely appreciate the time that she took to reflect upon that. She must have weighed up her needs, her wants, her desires against other people's needs, wants, and desires, and also other people's hurts. And she acknowledged, even though her intentions were this, that's not how it came across. And unfortunately, that wasn't the effect. So she changed it. And I can appreciate that growth of a human being. This level of self-reflection is, in all honesty, one that I think a lot of YouTube creators just lack. So it was super refreshing to see. As simple as weighing your ideas, your needs, your wants against someone else's, and also against someone else's possible level of hurt, and therefore being able to make the best decision and best outcome for not only yourself, but also the people around you. As I said before, I went back to a lot of Jenna's past content, as far back as I could possibly go before she started deleting a lot of things, but also rewatched a lot more of her recent content. When I say recent, I mean about 4-ish years ago onwards. A lot of her older content was primarily skit-based comedy, with her series of what men are like, what women are like, and things like what your nails say about you, which, as she said in her taking accountability video, made fun of gender and also were very slut-shamey. But since then, she's taken these videos off of her channel because, as she said in her taking accountability video, she no longer supports this content, with some typical YouTube challenges tossed into the mix every now and then as well. But in the last 4-ish years, she definitely changed her content, and she changed her style of content. It was less skit-based and it was more so, I'm gonna have this fun adventure and I'm gonna do what I wanna do and I'm gonna film what I wanna film and I'm gonna have this fun little adventure that y'all could come along and join in on. She started making and posting videos, yes, for her audience, but also ones that she would just find fun and she would find as fun little exciting adventures that she could have, that she could include us on. For example, turning myself into a disco ball, covering my face in rhinestones, my plant tour. Here's a video about my dogs and how nasty they can be. The joke, the fun, the excitement was suddenly her and her life, and only her life. It was no longer at another person's expense. If anyone was the joke, it was her, it was Julian, it was her dogs, it was her life. This is all a matter of personal opinion, but personally, I see this as growth. I think that she saw that there was an issue within her content and within herself, and she sat back, she reflected, and she changed it. She changed her content, she changed herself, she educated herself, she grew, and she furthered herself and furthered her content from something that was offensive into something that could be quite uplifting, fun, and entertaining in a way that wasn't going to put someone else's well-being in jeopardy. I'm not saying that Jenna hasn't made mistakes, and I'm not saying that Jenna's innocent. What I'm saying is that I do see some growth. I do see someone who has tried to educate themselves, and I do see someone that's tried to change because they saw an issue and they saw the effect that they were having on a person or multiple people, which unfortunately is sometimes rare to see on the internet when it comes to social media creators. I'm not saying that people don't, and I'm not saying that people can't. I'm just saying that sometimes it's really rare to see a genuine effort for growth, for change, and just for personal development. One thing she did say in her taking accountability video that is used quite commonly, that I just consistently find odd, is when people say, I just don't want to offend anyone. When people say this, I know it's not just one or the other. I know that there is a lot of middle ground with it. I think as people, we need to accept the fact that we are always going to be offending at least one person in the world. We cannot not offend everyone in the world. Personally, I know that my views and my opinions are going to offend certain kinds of people. I know that they are going to offend racists, homophobes, and sexists. And you know what? I am 100% a-okay with that. If you are one of those 3 things and my opinions offend you, cool. Have fun. What I think Jenna's actually saying in this video isn't necessarily she doesn't want to offend anyone. It's her saying that she doesn't want to offend anyone whose views and perspectives line up with her own. Whether it's the past, the present, or the future, with further education, understanding, and empathy. But looking at the comments in all places of discussion when it came to the taking accountability video, there was a lot of comments saying you can't not offend everyone. And yes, that is true. And I 100% agree with that statement. But there's a lot of comments also saying that you can't please everyone. There's a difference between not pleasing and not offending everyone, if that makes sense. Not pleasing, like, you can't always please people. Like, you buy a birthday cake for yourself and you get chocolate, but there are some people who don't like chocolate cake, and it's like, okay, yeah, but that's that's fine, but also if you're going to do something like blackface, that's going to offend people. And if your views aren't or are no longer racist, then that's not going to sit with you anymore, because it's going to be offending people whose viewpoints line up with yours, if that makes sense. So I don't think Jenna's issue is necessarily that she wants to please everyone. I think it's just the fact that she doesn't want to offend people whose viewpoints line up with her own. And unfortunately, her past content and her past videos offended the people that she wishes she hadn't. I would love to see Jenna come back to the internet, I'm not gonna lie, but I wouldn't want her to do it at her expense. I wouldn't want her to come back before she's ready. My parasocial relationship with Jenna is definitely that in the work colleague category. What Jenna chooses to do with her life and to do with her socials is completely up to her, and I have complete and utter respect for all the choices that she makes for herself. I'm happy with whatever she chooses at the end of the day, because in her taking accountability video, she just didn't seem happy anymore. She seemed absolutely exhausted, and she even said so in the taking accountability video. Taking the time to really stand back and make the best decision for yourself sometimes can be daunting, can be terrifying, but unfortunately it is a necessary evil. I personally just hope that she's managing to find what she's looking for, find what she feels as though she was lacking 9 months ago, and I personally hope that she is finding her happy again. If she decides to never return back to the internet, I will be sad, I'm not gonna lie. And yes, over the last 9 months, I have missed her. I never want my happiness to be dependent on someone else sacrificing their own health and their own well-being. As I said, it's been over 9 months, and it's okay to miss her, as you would a family member, or as you would a work colleague. But at the end of the day, from my perspective, if one of my favorite work colleagues quit, and this has happened to me before, if one of my favorite work colleagues quit and they moved on with their life, I would not force them to come back to work with me just to make my work days better, just to make my life easier and my life more fun, because it would be holding them back, and it's just not fair. It's not fair to metaphorically hold a person hostage for your own benefit in an environment that either is doing them harm or is holding them back from being the person that they want to be or living the life that they want to live. Ultimately, I think that Jenna has made mistakes, and I don't think Jenna is 100% innocent. But over the years, I've seen genuine steps made to further herself as a person, as a creator, and just educate herself and make her content not at anyone else's expense anymore, and making it at, if anyone's expense, her own expense. But personally, and I could be genuinely wrong with this, it's just my personal opinion, there just seems to be a bit of self-loathing that Jenna has. To what extent, I don't know, only she can say, and in all honesty, once again, I could be wrong. But I theorize that this self-loathing of who she was, or even perhaps who she is now, even after all this education and after all this self-reflection and growth, it just made the pressure of her platform almost too much to handle 9 months ago when she made the taking accountability video. Hence why she's been gone for so long and possibly never coming back, and also possibly why she's taken down the taking accountability video. Because showing that level of vulnerability she did in that video takes, one, a lot of courage, but also it can be so daunting and so overwhelming that it feels suffocating. But personally, I no longer want to have a sense of grieving, for lack of a better phrase, when it comes to not having any more Jenna content and possibly not having her on the internet again. I would far more rather her to be happy and her to be doing with her life what she wants to do, and furthering her life and furthering herself in a way that she wants to further herself. And I can go back and watch her videos and enjoy her videos and reminisce on the fun times of the internet and reminisce on the content that I used to look forward to watching, than, I guess, mourning what is no longer a reality. I hope that makes sense. I think all the latex has kind of gotten into my bloodstream at this point. I think I've talked about everything I wanted to talk about in this video. I think I hit all of my little dot points for this video. Essentially, why do we still feel Jenna's absence, and why will we still feel Jenna's absence for quite a long time? Simply put, we developed a parasocial relationship with her. We could empathize with her and with her content when she was on the internet, but we can also empathize with her leaving, the same way a friend might leave or a work colleague might leave. And it's okay to miss her, but I think that we need to find a healthy balance between missing her and wanting her back, and guilt tripping her for not being back on the internet yet, or not wanting to come back to the internet yet. At the end of the day, she is human like every other social media creator, and if she has boundaries and she's expressed them, there's something that we need to respect. At the end of all this, I miss Jenna, but I also value her well-being more than I do her content, if that makes sense. So that's it. This is the look. Tell me what you think, because I do feel kind of fabulous. She's a look. This is like a very casual supermarket look. Like, oh, I've just got to go down to the shops and buy some milk. You know, you know the vibe. Just something subtle, something simple, something that only takes you a few hours to go down for a cheeky little walk to the shops. Just got to get myself some bread, you know, the multi-grain stuff, because she's a healthy queen. But of course, please let me know down in the comments what you think, what your opinions are, because I genuinely want to hear them, because seeing other people's perspectives is how you learn and evolve and grow as a person. So I do like to read all of your comments, and I do like to see all of your perspectives, because it's I don't know, it's fun for me. Please let me know if you still like this kind of content. Also, if you have any ideas for names instead of water cooler convo makeup, because she's a bit of a mouthful. Also, unless you watch the video, I don't really think people will understand what water cooler convo makeup is. Also, just tell me what you think of this beautiful, beautiful look. Did I do Jenna justice? Is really what I want to know. But regardless, I hope that you are having a fantastic day, a fantastic week, a fantastic month, a fantastic year, and I hope that you are doing as fantastic as always. Bye everyone.